Part 119. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1181. Chapter 1181. He was the one who rescued me. Ah, how long will it take to live? Xia Yingluo was startled. The school doctor Zhou rolled his eyes at her. What's all the fuss about? Look at the long-lived species on the earth, turtles and jellyfish. Which ones don't have slow metabolism? If you are fast, you will die early. There is a saying in the scientific community. Xia Yingluo was silent. Could it be that the strange disease Wei Lingnan infected her with was premature death? If this is the case, where should she cry? Woo-hoo-hoo, she is still so young, at the age of 16 or 17, with a beautiful face, loving parents, and endless glory and wealth. Lots of good times are still to come, how could she not have it yet? Did you enjoy enough and go early? That perverted lunatic Wei Lingnan. Where did she provoke him, and he wanted to harm her like this? Xia Yingluo was about to cry but had no tears. Teacher Zhou, I feel like I'm going to die. Dr. Zhou looked at her angrily. If you don't take care of your body, you are really not far away from death. Look at how many people like you in the training camp fight, fool around with people in society, and don't learn well. Your family is still poor. What do you want to do in the future? You can't really live your whole life relying on a sugar daddy. A woman's best years are only a few years. When you are old and have nothing to do, you will not live until the day you die. I'll starve to death on the streets, she scolded, wishing that she was not Xia Yingluo's mother and couldn't whip her. Xia Yingluo felt that even if she jumped into the Yellow River, she would not be able to clean herself up. She was fighting and fooling around with people in society. How could her reputation have changed like this without her realizing it? She hung her head and listened to the scolding by the school Dr. Zhou. She was more worried about her physical problems. If even the best hospital in the city couldn't find out what disease she had, could she really just lower her profile and seek help from Wei Lingnan? Or there is another way, she can go home early and ask her parents and uncle for help. Maybe the elders will find out what happened to her. However, this also means failure in the trial. She was so confused. Why did such a big thing happen at this juncture? Is life more important, or trials? It's really embarrassing. Xia Yingluo was so distracted that she didn't even listen to what the school Dr. Zhou said at the end. In the end, the school Dr. Zhou concluded his speech, just stay in the hospital for a few days, reflect on yourself, and then leave the hospital after you recover. I will issue you a sick leave note and ask the Academic Affairs Office to exempt you from the penalty of running laps in the mountains. Also, if you need any medicine before discharge, please prescribe it as soon as possible, and it will be counted as reimbursement in the trainee benefits, remember. Xia Yingluo was stunned for a moment, and then her heart was filled with emotion. She understood what the school Dr. Zhou meant. She was about to be expelled. Once she was officially removed from the training camp, she would have to pay for medical treatment and medicine at her own expense. The school Dr. Zhou was afraid that she would not be able to afford it, so he kindly reminded her to hurry up. Cure everything that can be cured. She thanked the school Dr. Zhou for his kindness. Physician Zhou snorted coldly, just take care of yourself. Get up and leave the ward. Xia Yingluo rolled back onto the bed wrapped in sheets, her mood tangled up and down. What if she is really going to die? Should he write a suicide note and tell his parents to seek revenge against Wei Lingnan? Just as he was thinking about this, the door to the ward was pushed open, and a tall man walked in. He walked calmly, had a handsome face, and the corners of his lips like thin ice were slightly curved into a smile, but it was strangely creepy. A feeling of south of Wei Ling. Why is he here? Xia Yingluo's body suddenly tensed up. She sat up warily and looked at him. Wei Lingnan walked to the bed and looked at her condescendingly. Are you feeling better? He put down something he had brought. This man seems to be in control of the overall situation at all times, which is really hateful. Xia Yingluo narrowed her eyes and looked at him for a while, then said, "Come over here and sit over here." Wei Lingnan took one look at her and actually sat down beside her bed. "Xia Yingluo, sit over again." Wei Lingnan moved his chair towards her. "Xia Yingluo, come here again." As soon as the sound of Wei Lingnan moving the chair fell, Xia Yingluo suddenly picked up a fruit knife on the bedside table and stabbed him quickly and hard. The knife hit his shoulder until the handle was gone. A large amount of blood gushes out instantly. It dyed his clothes red, as well as her hands and the mattress. But he didn't even frown. His smooth, mirror-like pupils just stared at her quietly, showing no emotion. She slowly pulled out the fruit knife, and the blade scraped against the bone, making a tooth-piercing sound. Neither of the two people in the ward spoke, and they allowed the sound to spread. Finally, with a light touch of her hand, she pulled out the knife completely and threw it to the ground. Blood gushes out like a spring stream. However, soon, the wound on Wei Lingnan's shoulder slowly healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The blood flow stopped, leaving only dry traces. Wei Lingnan's expression and posture did not change throughout the whole process, and he asked calmly, "What are you doing?" Xia Yingluo sneered, "If you make me hurt, I will make you hurt." He looked into her eyes and smiled slowly, "This is my Aluo." One sentence made her very angry, "Who is your Aluo? What qualifications do you have to call me like that? Do you believe it?" She pointed to the fruit knife on the ground, "If I use it to cut your throat, it doesn't matter how fast the wound heals." "Will you cut my throat?" he asked calmly. Xia Yingluo choked. No matter how much she hated him, she had never really hurt anyone's life since she was a child, and she didn't want to now. She snorted coldly and turned her head. Wei Lingnan looked at her, the faint sunlight hitting the side of her face like silk. She was so beautiful. He reached out his hand and gently touched her cheek, but she avoided him like an electric shock. "Get out of here," she said. Wei Lingnan smiled, "Why are you so heartless? Do you know who saved you when you were in a coma with a high fever?" She said coldly, "It can't be you." Wei Lingnan said, "What a coincidence, it's me." Xia Yingluo's face suddenly turned ugly, "I don't believe it. There are so many medical staff here and we need your help." "They are all idiots," Wei Lingnan said calmly. His indifferent tone did not sound like he was talking about the most outstanding medical staff in the city, but more like he was talking about a group of ants. "I can't even find out the cause of your illness. The only way to do this is to the only thing I did was give you a critical illness notice. It was me who kissed you and made your blood pressure, heartbeat, and body temperature return to normal. Many people present saw it." Xia Yingluo stared at him and shook her head, "This is too ridiculous. There is no way the doctor can believe that a kiss from you can save my life." Wei Lingnan smiled again, "Of course they didn't believe it. They thought I was your beloved, and because my kiss rekindled your will to live, you automatically defeated the disease and woke up. That's nonsense, isn't it?" End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1182. Chapter 1182 Zhang Billian's Visit. Even if Xia Yingluo didn't want to, she had to agree that this explanation was even more nonsense than him kissing her. "Who are you?" she asked. "What disease have you given me?" "This is not a disease," Wei Lingnan said slowly, "the rejection reaction is only temporary. As long as I am around to take care of you, you will get through it safely. As for who I am, you will remember it one day." "Aluo." Xia Yingluo was very irritated, "I told you that you recognized the wrong person. I don't know you." His eyes darkened slightly, "Maybe I should remind your body again now." She flinched, remembering his previous reminder, and wisely shut up and remained silent. Wei Lingnan's expression softened a little and he said, "Here, drink the porridge." He picked up what was on the bedside table when he came in. It was a thermos bucket, which contained snow-white and delicate glutinous rice porridge. The sweet smell filled the air. She tilted her head angrily. "I won't drink." Wei Lingnan said, "I don't have much patience." Xia Yingluo sneered, "Really? I am the most unthreatening person." Wei Lingnan lowered his head and dug into the porridge bit by bit with a silver spoon. "Humans will die if they don't eat. If you die, your parents, relatives and friends will be so sad." She remained silent, thinking of her parents and brothers who were far away abroad, and felt sour in her heart. If they knew that she was bullied like this, they would be heartbroken, right? She really didn't live up to expectations. They raised her so big, she would make them worry. "Am I going to die?" she asked him. Dr. Zhou said that if people's metabolism speeds up, their lifespan will become shorter. Wei Lingnan was a little sarcastic. "Don't worry, you have a long life. You are not allowed to die until I die." Xia Yingluo glanced at him angrily. "According to metabolism, you won't live long." The sarcasm in Wei Ling's southern eyes became even stronger. "Stupid human beings." Hand out his hand, he handed the small spoon with the porridge to her mouth. "Eat." She said, "I don't need you to feed me, I can eat it myself. Believe it or not, I tied you to the bed." Xia Yingluo. She opened her mouth silently and bit down on the porridge and spoon as if she wanted to break his neck. Wei Lingnan smiled slightly again. It was a winner's smile. Xia Yingluo stayed in the hospital for a few days, and her condition gradually improved. Strangely enough, she never had an episode of heartbreaking pain during the days she was with him. When it was finally time to be discharged from the hospital, he sent her back to the training camp. She got off the cool black supercar and entered the girls' dormitory accompanied by him. She didn't know how many people looked at her. "Look," someone pulled the companion beside him and said, "He is the legendary man who kept Xia Yingluo. He is so handsome." "I didn't expect it. I thought it would be a middle-aged bald man." Xia Yingluo made a profit this time. "To be honest, he is even more handsome than Zhao Yuxuan. No wonder she wants to ditch Zhao Yuxuan and try another branch. I heard that Zhao Yuxuan dumped her." There were whispers, and the melon-eating crowd was beaming with gossip. Xia Yingluo had no expression on her face. She pretended not to hear anything and went straight into the dormitory. The dormitory is a room for 6 people. 4 of them are about to make their debut recently and have not returned yet after being taken away for training in other places. Only Jin Linger is there at this time. Jin Linger saw her, stepped forward and gave her a big hug. "Yingluo, you are finally back. You miss me so much." Xia Yingluo picked her off like a koala and said with a cold face, "Close the door." Jin Linger saw something wrong with her face and went to close the door for no reason. She saw a hand with sharp bones blocking the door, and a tall man walked in slowly with a few items in his hand. Jin Linger was stunned. "Who are you?" Wei Lingnan shook the things he was carrying. "Which one is Aluo's table?" "I helped her bring back her personal belongings from the hospital." "Aluo," Jin Linger responded. "You mean Yingluo, right? She is in that position. Are you her boyfriend?" "Yes." "No." The 2 people said at the same time. Xia Yingluo glared at Wei Lingnan fiercely. "I have nothing to do with you." Wei Lingnan raised his lips and smiled, and said to Jin Linger, "She has a bad temper and is not in good health. Please help me take care of her more." Jin Linger's bright eyes flicked between the 2 of them, and she smiled for a moment. "Handsome, don't worry, Yingluo is my good sister, I will take care of her. You have to visit her often." "Oh, she likes fish and preserves." Wei Lingnan raised his lips again. "Okay." Xia Yingluo was so angry that she threw a pillow at her. "Get out." When it wasn't enough, he smashed another one and said to Jin Linger, "Get out of here too." Jin Linger shrugged and exchanged a look. She really has a bad temper. Look with Wei Lingnan. Wei Lingnan said goodbye and left. Jin Linger pounced on Xia Yingluo shamelessly, hurry up and call me. What's the name of that handsome guy? Did he treat you like this or that night? Xia Yingluo was so angry that she hit her with a pillow again. Obviously you like to eat dried fish and candied fruits, don't let others give them to you in my name. Also, which of your eyes saw that he is handsome? What kind of aesthetics do you have? He is a gangster, villain, and pervert. Jin Linger sneered, you have to keep him for my little fish. Eat, 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 you know how to eat. Xia Yingluo was almost off by her. What kind of bad friend did she make? He chased her with a pillow and beat her all over the dormitory, seeing profit and neglecting righteousness. Prioritizing over friends. Don't run away, stop if you can. Two girls were making trouble when they suddenly heard an ouch. It turned out that the pillow hit the door and hit someone in the face. They turned around and saw Zhang Bilian and her follower Zuzu. Jin Linger was the first to react, walked over to pick up the pillow, and was about to close the door. Zuzu quickly blocked the door with quick eyes and hands, and said arrogantly, is this how you treat guests? Jin Linger sneered, don't be too close. You are not worthy of being called a guest here. Go away, get out of here. Zhang Bilian frowned slightly, girls, don't be so rude. Jin Linger looked at her sideways and said, you think I'm rude? Then get out of here. Hurry up. Zhang Bilian showed a gentle smile, looked through Jin Linger's shoulder to Xia Yingluo in the door, and said in a soft and gentle voice, Yingluo, I heard that you have been discharged from the hospital. I came to see if you are okay. Is there anything you need my help with? To show hospitality when you have nothing to do is to be either an adulterer or a thief. Xia Yingluo knew that Zhang Bilian had no good intentions, so she said lukewarmly, our friendship is not that good yet, right? Don't worry, everything is fine here. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1183. Chapter 1183. A Small Request. Zhang Bilian, you can't say that. The school's disciplinary announcement has come out a long time ago. You will be expelled from school. I want you to be a poor student and have no one to rely on. How will you live after being kicked out? Do you want me to give you some advice? Money, at least we are classmates. It turned out that this was her real purpose, to see Xia Yingluo's jokes. Xia Yingluo is the one who suffers the loss? His eyes turned and put on a smiling face, Sister Bilian, I didn't expect you to be so kind. It seems that I thought you were pretentious and hypocritical before, which was all a misunderstanding. I was kicked out of the training camp this time, and I am worried that I have nowhere to go. Zhang Bilian twitched when she heard it. What do you mean she is so pretentious and hypocritical? However, Xia Yingluo was willing to give in at least, and that flattering smile was proof. She must have found that she couldn't survive after being kicked out of the training camp, so she came to please herself in an attempt to gain some benefits. Thinking of this, Zhang Bilian smiled proudly and said reservedly, look what you said, you are about to be expelled from school. You are just a poor person. How can I care about you? The arrogant attitude of a winner. Xia Yingluo echoed, yes, yes. Jin Linger looked aggrieved and shouted loudly, Yingluo, why are you so polite to her? Zuzu at the door sneered and shouted loudly, Jin Linger, you are so rude. Our sister Bilian came to care about Xia Yingluo with good intentions, but you are so cold-eyed. You really treat your kindness like a donkey's liver and lungs. Our sister Bilian was originally prepared to give Xia Yingluo some money and let her live a good life after she goes out. Besides yelling, What else can you do to help your friend? Jin Ling choked and wanted to say something, but Xia Yingluo stopped her. Ling. Looking at her shaking her head, Jin Ling stamped her foot angrily and said nothing. Yes, I don't have the ability to help Xia Yingluo materially. How will I survive after Yingluo leaves the training camp? Maybe Yingluo also thought about this problem and was kind to Zhang Bilian. However, doesn't Yingluo have such a powerful boyfriend? Why don't you ask your boyfriend for help? Her mind was in a mess and full of doubts. Over there, in the corridor of the dormitory building, their shouting has attracted a large number of spectators, who are pointing around. Zuzu felt very proud and wanted this effect, so he intensified his efforts to publicize to the crowd how kind-hearted his sister Bilian was, and came to help Xia Yingluo in times of need when she heard that Xia Yingluo was about to be kicked out of school. Xia Yingluo, as long as you apologize to Sister Bilian will give you a lot of money so that you can live a good life after you go out, Zuzu said loudly. This is the purpose of their coming here today, to give alms to Xia Yingluo, their former rival, like a beggar in front of everyone, to let out a bad breath and let people know about Zhang Bilian's gentleness, nobility, and generosity. A good life, Xia Yingluo smiled meaningfully. Yes, Zhang Bilian said, it's not easy for you as a girl to work in society, and men won't give you money, right? Otherwise, your life wouldn't be so tight, she said, looking at Xia Yingluo glanced around and saw that Xia Yingluo was wearing a shirt-skirt she bought at a discount at the store in front of the school, with a hint of contempt, take this money to be self-reliant, and stop getting entangled with those men who are toying with you. Financial sponsors are not easy to get along with. Don't lose your body and get nothing. Xia Yingluo said, then I really want to thank Sister Bilian. As a person, I don't have high requirements for a luxurious life. I just want to have a single-family villa in a prime location, surrounded by trees, and have a driver to pick me up and drop me off. 2 celebrity chefs and nannies, and, by the way, a gardener and a bodyguard, that's all. Sister Bilian is so generous that she plans to help me with all these things. Zhang Bilian didn't expect that she would open her mouth like this. She was stunned for a moment before she realized that Xia Yingluo was entertaining her. Over there, Jin Ling was already laughing so hard. Yes, our family Yingluo's requirements are not high. They are just a little higher than Miss Jiang's highest standard of life. I heard that your family has been no bodyguards. It's hard for the cook to cook, ha ha ha. The students who were watching were also laughing. Some smart people had already noticed that Zhang Bilian deliberately showed off her wealth in front of Xia Yingluo. Unexpectedly, she was slapped in the face by Xia Yingluo and made a condition that she could not afford. How embarrassing. Zhang Bilian was annoyed. Xia Yingluo, I have good intentions and want to help you. I know, Xia Yingluo blinked innocently, I sincerely made a small request. Sister Bilian, you can't even do such a small thing, right? I have removed the conditions of private helicopter, British-style housekeeper, and independent garden. If that doesn't work, either, or remove the bodyguard. Zhang Bilian was so angry that she was about to explode. She still asked for bodyguards. Although many top wealthy families have bodyguards accompanying them in and out, her family is not a top wealthy family. Even the bodyguards who guard the party have to be hired temporarily. Isn't Xia Yingluo trying another way to mock her for not being a real aristocrat? You know, this incident has always been a pain in her heart. She regrets that her family background is not good enough, and she is more than a step lower than the behemoths like the Emperor Pei family. Wait a minute. Xia Yingluo, Zhang Bilian gritted her teeth, have you watched too many idol dramas to imagine the life of a rich person like that? Our Zhang family is very low-key. As for you, you should also learn to be low-key, since you gave birth to a maid. Don't think about the life of a young lady. Do you want to be a helicopter butler and cook when you can't even afford a rental house? Xia Yingluo sneered, She really could afford it. How many private islands and servants does she have in her name? So many that she didn't even bother to remember them. In other families, sons are precious, but what about her family? 3 generations back, the Li family did not have a legitimate daughter, and it was not easy to give birth to a daughter with a rich daughter. The whole family cherished her as if they were eyeballs. The situation of the Xia family was similar. Her mother Xia Ling herself, the little wanderer, didn't allow her uncle and grandpa to enjoy much family happiness, so naturally they all wanted to make up for it on her. They pampered her to the point of being unreasonable, and they almost plucked the stars from the sky for her. In this case, what could she lack? The conditions reported to Zhang Bilian are really not good enough. Zhang Bilian didn't think so. Looking at the dazzling smile on Xia Yingluo's face, she said, "Since you are so confident, it seems that you don't need me to support you. I hope you don't end up on the street after being kicked out of the training camp, be a beggar, besides." End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1184. Chapter 1184, Selling Oneself to Pay Off Debts. Her smile flashed, and her expression became even more vicious. The scholarships sponsored by our Zhang family are to support outstanding students. Since you cannot be a role model for other trainees and instead ruin the atmosphere, remember to return all this bonus. Our Zhang family is so generous that we won't settle the interest with you. Jin Linger gasped, "Zhang Bilian, don't go too far. Aren't you pushing people to a dead end?" Zhang Bilian smiled gently, "I gave her a chance." If Jin Linger wanted to say anything else, Xia Yingluo had already pulled her and looked directly into Zhang Bilian's eyes. "Okay, if it's just a small amount of money, I will pay it back to you." She had already planned to leave here and go to heaven. Art training camp, with her level, she was able to successfully enter the training camp and get scholarships and even borrow money without any problem. Anyway, she dealt with the trouble here and returned to her family after more than a year. Tianyi's own family, whether it's paying back the money or writing it off, it doesn't matter. Zhang Bilian thought of something. "You don't want to sell yourself to pay off the debt, do you?" she said with a look of disdain. Zuzu on the side sang along with her and laughed viciously. "Selling yourself to pay off debts? Ha ha, Xia Yingluo, no wonder you are so confident in what you say. You have already thought of a way out? We can't do this kind of thing. But I see you haven't gained anything after selling your body for so long. You still look poor, so you're not that stupid to be deceived, right?" After saying this, several trainees who were watching the excitement started laughing. Sometimes, jealousy among girls is so terrible. Unexpectedly, a man's voice broke in, like cold ice and snow blowing across the wasteland. "Why sell yourself to pay off your debts?" Everyone turned around and saw a slender young man wearing a shirt and trousers walking into the dormitory slowly and looking at several girls. His face was as handsome as an ice sculpture, and there was an indescribable aura of indifference between his brows and eyes, which made him look vaguely dangerous. "Who is he?" someone asked in a low voice. Zhang Bilian and Zhu Zhu's expressions changed. They recognized that this man was the one who injured them in the dance class that day. Wei Lingnan looked down at Zhang Bilian, with no emotion or anger in his voice. "It's you again. Didn't you learn enough lessons last time?" Zhang Bilian suppressed the fear in her heart. "This is the girls' dormitory, how did you get in?" The corners of his lips raised slightly, as if she asked a ridiculous question, and he turned his head slightly to look at Xia Yingluo. "The people in this training camp are really unpleasant. I took it upon myself to ask the school to revoke your expulsion." "Punishment? You won't blame me, right?" "What?" Xia Yingluo looked at him in surprise. The rules of the emperor's training camp were notoriously strict. Once a punishment was issued, it would not be easily revoked. Even Zhang Bilian's family background could not do such a thing. Who is this man in front of me? If she hadn't known that his surname was Wei, she would have suspected that his surname was Pei. Zhang Bilian and a group of trainees watching the excitement were also extremely surprised and couldn't believe it. Who are you? It doesn't matter who I am, Wei Lingnan said, you just need to know that Xia Yingluo is my woman. The words that came out of his graceful thin lips made many people take a deep breath. Sure enough, the rumors that Xia Yingluo has a man outside the school are true. This man is so handsome and powerful, it makes people jealous. Xia Yingluo's palm-sized face was filled with anger, and she looked at him with blazing eyes. Wei Lingnan. Who is your woman? Don't let your ghost linger. Wei Lingnan smiled lowly, seemingly not caring about her roar at all, and looked at her dotingly, as if looking at a cat having a tantrum. You want a single family villa? Bodyguards and celebrity chefs? Okay, I'll give it all to you. If you like to buy Jiang's enterprise for fun, there's nothing wrong with it. Everyone gasped again. What a big deal. Is what he said true or false? Giving away villas to bodyguards does not count. Even a company as big as Jiang's can buy it and give it away. You, stop joking. Zhang Bilian felt she was humiliated and said angrily, what a loud tone. You can afford our Zhang family. You are not afraid of being exposed and embarrassed. Wei Lingnan glanced at her lightly. Do you want to give it a try? That look seemed to contain infinite pressure, which actually scared Zhang Bilian to the point where her legs became weak. This man is so scary. For a moment, she no longer dared to doubt Wei Lingnan's strength. Regardless of whether he could afford the Zhang family or not, he was someone she could not afford to offend. Besides, she's not stupid. It's enough for the Emperor training camp to withdraw Xia Yingluo's expulsion from school. This is something that the Zhang family can't do even if she is asked. Zhang Bilian lowered her head and stopped talking. Wei Lingnan looked at Xia Yingluo again. How about buying a villa in Shanglin Nanyuan? You can see the beautiful stars there. The transfer will be completed this week, and next week you can take your friends to a party and barbecue. I'm a famous chef and servant. It's all ready for you. His voice seemed to contain a lot of tenderness, which made the trainees around him feel envious. They had looked down on Xia Yingluo's sugar daddy behavior before, but now they wanted to pounce on her and say, let go of that big man, I'll do it. Xia Yingluo was not happy. Who told you to make your own decision? Did I say I wanted your villa? I'm not negotiating with you. His voice was still soft but unquestionable. Go to Shanglin Nanyuan in 3 days to get the key and tell me my name. His body longed for her, his soul missed her, and his whole body, every cell in her body is clamoring to get her. She can't come to the dormitory here or the wild every time she meets. It's too inconvenient. Xia Yingluo wanted to refuse, but when she saw the jealous and angry looks in Zhang Bilian and Zhu Zhu's eyes, she changed her mind and smiled sweetly. Okay then, she said, thank you for letting the training camp take back the punishment against me. I'm afraid some people are very disappointed. Hearing what she said, Zhang Bilian and Zhu Zhu's faces turned a little darker. Zhang Bilian couldn't stay any longer and said to Zhu Zhu, let's go. It is so embarrassing to come with great fanfare and then come back with a failure. Seeing them leave, Jin Linger slammed the dormitory door shut, blocking out the prying eyes from outside. Xia Yingluo then turned to Wei Lingnan. Why are you here again? He smiled lightly. Is this the attitude that someone who just took over a villa from me should have? Xia Yingluo, you know I'm just trying to make Zhang Bilian angry. I won't accept your villa from anyone who wants it. Wei Lingnan said, really? If you don't accept it, how can you invite your classmates to a party? If they catch it, they can ridicule you for a long time. Xia Yingluo fell silent, then stared at him angrily. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1185. Chapter 1185 Monthly Exam Results Released. What the kind of party is this? Wasn't it his bad idea? He said that on purpose in front of everyone. She just got it right and didn't want to be embarrassed, so she couldn't refuse the villa. Okay, I'll take it. Xia Yingluo gritted her teeth and smiled. I want to go to the biggest and best building in Linanyuan. The decoration is more gorgeous than a palace, with a famous French chef, a British butler, and the cloakroom is full of seasonal hangings. New models from major brands, independent video room, outdoor swimming pool, garden bar, and valuable antiques. Before Wei Lingnan could say anything, Jin Linger beside him had already gasped. Why didn't this girl go and grab it? After all, she was a member of her own family, so she managed to hold back the hum that came out of her mouth. Wei Lingnan's eyebrows remained unchanged. Okay. Good. How come a good one is gone? Agreed so easily. Xia Yingluo felt bad all over. She reported a long list of things in one breath. Why didn't he even react with a little bit of physical pain? I think you're not very old, she couldn't help but taunted Wei Lingnan. The man in front of her looked like he was only in his 20s. What do you do at home? Is it okay to squander your parents' money like this? Be careful if your parents find out and take you back. Eat homely. His deep and narrow eyes seemed to have a little smile. Are you worried about me? Get out. Jin Linger was watching with fear. She was afraid that Wei Lingnan would fall out, so she quickly came out to smooth things over. Hey, Yingluo, what's your attitude? I've given you a lot of things, so I'd better say thank you. As he spoke, wink wildly. Xia Yingluo was so angry. Why did this girl turn her elbows outward? Whose friend is he? She snorted arrogantly and looked away. Well, Jin Linger smiled dryly and said to Wei Lingnan, thank you. Yingluo is still young and not sensible. You can't be as knowledgeable as her. And thank you for asking the training camp to take back the punishment of expulsion. Ah. Wei Lingnan said calmly, you're welcome. Letting the training camp issue a penalty of expulsion was not for Xia Yingluo's sake. He knew Xia Yingluo's identity very well and had already guessed that she wanted to go to Tianyi training camp, but how could she succeed? In the Emperor, the power of the Li family and the Xia family are beyond their reach. Once they go to Tianyi, how can it be so convenient for him to touch her? He did this purely out of selfishness. He asked the school to notify her as soon as possible after revoking the punishment, but he encountered a good show of bullying by Zhang Bilian and others. He took advantage of the situation and gave her a villa. As a girl living alone, she couldn't really live on scholarships. She had been pampered since she was a child, and her health was not good recently. How could she suffer any hardship? With this thought in mind, he took out a card and handed it to Jin Linger. She followed me and refused to accept anything. She put herself in such a torment, and I feel really sorry for her. I have already withdrawn the scholarship for her, and she no longer owes her any money. Jiang's family. You are her roommate. You can accept this card for her, and all future tuition and daily expenses will be deducted from it. Jin Linger's eyes shone and she quickly took it, praising him as a good person again and again. Xia Yingluo was angry. Don't accept it. Wei Lingnan had already turned around and left the dormitory. Xia Yingluo went crazy and pointed at Jin Linger with a trembling hand. You're a money addict. A traitor. Ha ha ha, you're with him anyway. If you don't accept it, it's nothing. Jin Linger was very thoughtful and looked over the card over and over. I wonder how much money is in it? Yingluo, he's nice to you. Why do you keep rejecting people thousands of miles away? Humph, he is good. Xia Yingluo was so angry that she wanted to hit him. Recalling his brutal appearance in the casino suite at the beginning, and the violence against her that day in the dense forest at the back of the mountain. Which normal boyfriend or even financial sponsor can do this? He is a pervert. It's just that these things are too private, even in front of good friends, it is difficult to talk about them. She waited for the golden bell and the card for a long time, then said dejectedly, "Forget it." "That's so good," Jin Ling touched her little head and smiled, "our family Yingluo is also going to live in the villa. When we get the house, we will invite everyone there. Zhang Bilian and the others will be so angry. I haven't entered yet. A high-end villa with a garden and swimming pool, Yingluo, I can count on you this time to help me expand my horizons, ha ha ha." Xia Yingluo was so weak that she wanted to have the villa transferred to her immediately and shut her mouth. She has a super rich boyfriend. No, the news about the financial backer spread quickly in the training camp. No matter where she went, more people pointed fingers at her. Xia Yingluo had a cold face, ignored these rumors, concentrated on training, and used all her energy to prepare for the upcoming monthly exam. She must defeat Zhang Bilian in the monthly exam. Express the bad breath in your heart. The monthly exam is coming. Culture classes, talent classes, etiquette classes. She got the highest score in every subject, crushing Zhang Bilian with a huge score advantage, becoming the first in the school. And Zhang Bilian, the second, lags far behind her. How is this possible? When the results were released, everyone was shocked. Why did Xia Yingluo get perfect scores in every subject? She couldn't have cheated, right? Is there something shady? Some people also sneered, a shady story? It has been so many years since the establishment of the Emperor training camp. When have you ever seen a shady story? Even Xiaoling had such a close relationship with Chairman Pei back then, and the exams were all done with real swords and guns without any favoritism. Yes. Xia Yingluo's grades are obviously good. I saw her when she took the dance test that day and I was shocked. When he said this, many people agreed, yes, Xia Yingluo has really made rapid progress recently. During the acting test that day, her co-stars Ji Nianan and Shen Kaiyu both said that they were overpowered by her right from the beginning. Not on the same level. In the midst of the discussion, the doubts about her cheating gradually faded away and were replaced by admiration. Outside the crowd, Zhang Bilian's face turned slightly blue, but she still maintained her demeanor and tried not to have an attack. Zuzu on the side comforted her, "Sister Bilian, is Xia Yingluo lucky this time? She will definitely not be able to beat you in the next monthly exam." As soon as he finished speaking, he heard another comment from the crowd, "Speaking of which, this singing test is too difficult. Even Zhang Bilian only scored 54 points. This is the first time I have seen her unable to eat past. I can't tell that there is such a big gap between her and Xia Yingluo's singing skills. After listening to Xia Yingluo's version, her singing is just like rubbish." Zhang Bilian's face turned dark instantly. Zuzu on the side was extremely embarrassed, lowering her head and not daring to speak. The crowd didn't notice them, and they were still talking. "That's right, those examiners were so crazy that they chose Xiaoling's Butterfly in the Cage when they specified a bad song. Didn't they mean to kill us?" End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1186. Chapter 1186, First place in total score. I got the lowest score ever in my singing class, I'm not going to live anymore, someone wailed. Someone else said, Teacher Kui has said that the singing class is to test everyone's mastery of rich layers and musicality. Xiaoling's Caged Butterfly is both technical and emotional. They are all S-level choices, which can best show the true strength of the candidates and widen the score gap. Xiao Yin, although you scored 49 points, Xia Yingluo scored 100 points. She is not human. She is a pervert. Who can score 100 points except Xiaoling herself? Howls of grief and indignation came one after another, but no one said that Xia Yingluo cheated and went through the back door. The exam version of Butterfly in the Cage sung by her has been posted on the school network for everyone to listen to and download, specializing in treating various dissatisfactions. Over there, Xia Yingluo and Jin Linger also came over to see the results. In order to enhance the sense of competition among candidates and make the results more impressive, Emperor announces the scores for each major exam in the form of a bulletin board list instead of publishing the scores separately in the class or on the internet. The two of them happened to hear the discussion about the episode The Butterfly in the Cage. Jin Linger smiled and said, "Yingluo, I knew you could get full marks as soon as I heard it." "Look, you're right." Xia Yingluo also smiled and secretly said she was lucky. Although she did not cheat, she still had some slight advantages over others in singing this song. She had heard her mother Xiaoling talk about her love story as a girl, and she roughly understood what kind of love-hate entanglement it was. In addition, her mother personally taught her to sing this song when she had nothing to do, so it was impossible for her to not perform well. Jin Linger took her hand and walked into the crowd, first place in total. "Yingluo, you are first place." "Who is second place, Zhang Bilian?" "She is 127 points worse than you." "Ha ha ha, her face is covered, you're going to be completely defeated." "This is crushing by strength." Her voice was clear and bright, and everyone present could hear it clearly. Someone said, "Zhang Bilian is here." Xia Yingluo turned her head and saw Zhang Bilian and Zuzu standing outside the crowd, neither advancing nor retreating. At this time, Zhang Bilian's face was extremely ugly, and she said to Xia Yingluo, "This time it's your luck. I will definitely win it back next time." "Don't talk too much too early," Xia Yingluo smiled, "first pass the song Butterfly in the Cage. With one sentence, Zhang Bilian was slapped in the face. Zhang Bilian clenched her fists secretly, knowing that it would be a shame to stay here any longer, so she led Zuzu and left the place where the results were released in dejection. Xia Yingluo is in a good mood. She has been fed up with the rumors spread by her group during this period, and she can finally feel proud today. So what if she has more scandals? Strength is strength, this is a slap in the face with strength. "I'll treat you all to dinner in a few days," she said loudly to everyone present. "When my villa is decorated, I invite you all to celebrate." "Okay, Yingluo is treating me to a treat, and I'm going to be shameless and treat her to a meal. I am coming too. Count me in." The trainees laughed and joined in the fun. Human nature is like this. No matter what they say about Xia Yingluo behind her back, when they see her current strength, they not only refuse to offend her easily but also flock to her. She has good looks, a backing, and strength. Even if she comes from a humble background, she will be packaged in the future when she debuts. Their development prospects are limitless, maybe they will have to rely on her support in the future. Take advantage of now to build a good relationship. Amidst the compliments, Xia Yingluo took the golden bell and left like a triumphant hero. After taking a few steps, Jin Linger fell down laughing. "Ha ha ha, Yingluo, did you see Zhang Bilian's face just now? It really made me laugh to death. Doesn't she think she is very powerful? She failed the singing exam. The total score is still so far behind you. Ha 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 ha, I really want to take a photo of the scene just now and post it on the campus network to reflect on it." "Just do it." Xia Yingluo raised the corners of her lips slightly. "Let's go eat." "Have a meal." "Well, you don't want to eat lunch." "Beast." Jin Linger was stunned for a moment, then said, "You mean handsome guy Wei? Have you finally thought about using his card?" "So what if I can't think about it?" Xia Yingluo gritted her teeth, wishing to bite off a piece of meat from that dead pervert. "Since the only thing I can do is to feed him, why don't I eat? Why can't I live with myself?" "Okay. He's poor." Jin Linger was happy to have food. "Shall we go to Shanzhenlu?" I heard that the wild quail there is delicious, and there are also birds' nests and abalone wings, which I have never eaten before. By the way, I forgot to tell you, in fact, you can't live without him, Jin Linger suddenly said mysteriously, did you know? I checked the name Wei Lingnan on the internet these days, and I have an idea of his identity. Guess. Stop, 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 Xia Yingluo said angrily, I don't want to know who he is, can you have a good meal? Okay, okay, the world is big, and the one who paid the most was Jin Linger, who shrewdly stopped talking and happily entered the Shenzhen building with her. They came here at short notice, and it was during the evening meal rush hour, so there were no private rooms. The two of them sat down in the lobby. Xia Yingluo didn't even look at the menu and said directly, waiter, I'll give you the same dish as the most expensive dish here. But the waiter looked at their clothes and hesitated. What, are you afraid that we can't pay? Jin Linger proudly slapped the card Wei Lingnan gave her on the table, take it and swipe it. The waiter took the card doubtfully and went away, then came back with a smile on his face after a while, you two ladies, the bird's nests, abalone wings, and Kodano size pilosulo mushrooms here are total 36,800. If you want to confirm, let the kitchen know the food is ready. Xia Yingluo signed quickly. After a while, all kinds of delicacies were served in a flowing stream. They were all delicious and delicious, making people want to eat. The two girls were immersed in eating without any image, causing people around them to look at them with suspicion. Jin Linger stuffed something into her mouth and said vaguely, it's delicious, it's so delicious. I finally understand why the rich people nearby like to come here. The chefs here are really top-notch in cooking. Xia Yingluo said while grabbing crabs from her, the food is just okay. Look at how you eat, don't grab my crabs. Jin Linger rolled her eyes at her, who says it's okay and at the same time competes with me for food. The crabs are mine. Xia Yingluo laughed and snatched half of it from her hand. Actually, did she want anything delicious at home before? When I say it's okay, I really think the food here is just okay. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1187. Chapter 1187, Teach Pei Yan a Lesson. However, it has been almost a year since she came out, and she has been living a frugal life, eating only big pots of rice from the canteen. It is true that she has not eaten delicious food in a long time. Coupled with the fact that today's test results crushed Zhang Bilian, I was so happy that I couldn't help but grab it with my friends. The two of them grabbed it wildly, and a crab leg flew out sideways, hitting a woman who was passing by. I'm sorry, Jin Linger apologized quickly, got up and ran over to say, are you okay? Can I wipe you with a napkin? The woman she bumped into was wearing an elegant modified embroidered cheongsam. She was graceful and elegant at first glance. She glanced at Jin Linger with disgust, no, don't dirty my clothes. Jin Linger was stunned for a moment, and then she realized that people thought she was dirty, and she wasn't even worthy of using napkins to wipe their clothes. She was holding back a fire in her heart without realizing it, but she couldn't say anything because she was wronged first. The woman sneered softly, bad luck. She raised her eyes and looked at Xia Yingluo not far away. I haven't seen you for a few days, Xia Yingluo, you are doing well, you found a new meal ticket so quickly. I'm just a poor student, but I can actually afford to eat in such a luxurious restaurant. She didn't lower her voice deliberately, and the waiters and diners nearby could hear her clearly. For a time, everyone looked at Xia Yingluo and their eyes were even more wrong. At first, when I saw these two girls devouring their food, I felt like bandits. But when the woman said this, someone immediately started whispering, so they are poor students. No wonder they don't look good when they eat. How do poor students have money to come here? Didn't you hear what the lady said, find a sugar daddy with meal tickets? Tisk, tut, today's students are really more ignorant than the last. A group of people shook their heads and sighed, looking at Xia Yingluo and Jin Linger with both contempt and pity. Anger arose in Xia Yingluo's heart. She had been thrown a lot of dirty water recently, but Jin Linger was now being implicated by her, and she was also regarded as that kind of woman. Her face darkened, she slapped the table and stood up. Pei Yan, keep your mouth clean. Yes, that woman is Pei Yan, the one who robbed her boyfriend not long ago and sent her bed photos. Even though she didn't care about that scumbag Zhao Yuxuan for a long time, Xia Yingluo had never suffered such shame and humiliation in her whole life. For a moment, old and new hatred surged into her heart, and her eyes almost burst into flames when she looked at Pei Yan. Pei Yan was very arrogant. If you don't want others to know, you have to do nothing yourself. How dare you say that the source of your money is clean? Xia Yingluo has finally returned the favor. Her relationship with Wei Lingnan was not clear in the first place, and the money she received was unclear. She understood that if she argued with her on this topic, she would definitely suffer. What if she accused Pei Yan of stealing her boyfriend? It's just a joke to the surrounding diners. Her father and brother at home have taught her that when words fail to make sense, fists are the last word. Well, she decided to take action, overturned the table, picked up a cup of bird's nest soup and threw it at Pei Yan. Pei Yan didn't expect that she would dare to make a move. She was splashed with water, and water dripped from her beautifully maintained hairstyle and face. Mixed with an expression of shock, anger, and shock, she looked very embarrassed and ridiculous. Jin Linger was also stunned, but no matter what her friend did, she supported her, so she clapped her hands and laughed, "Ha ha, I told you to be arrogant." Pei Yan was so angry that he was going crazy. He wanted to rush up and beat the two of them but was afraid that he would not be able to beat them. He quickly scolded the nearby waiter, "What are you doing standing still? Call the police. Arrest these two little and sue them. Provoking trouble and intentionally causing harm. She is the one looking for trouble." Jin Linger was not to be outdone. The waiter is also a big boss, always trying to calm things down. "Madam, do you think? Hurry up and call the police. If you don't kill these two little girls, my surname is not Pei. Do you still want to open this store? Why don't you go quickly?" Pei Yan was furious, and the words surnamed Pei made several waiters look at each other. And still surrounded Xia Yingluo and Jin Linger. Who doesn't know that the Pei family is a big family in the city? Looking at the expensive clothes this lady is wearing, she might be from the Pei family, and she cannot afford to offend her. Looking at this posture, Xia Yingluo estimated that it would be no problem to break out with her own skills, but she would not be able to get out with the golden bell. He did nothing but drag Pei Yan into the water even when he went to the police station. With lightning speed, he grabbed Pei Yan's wet hair that was soaked in soup. He ignored her nausea and pulled her to his side. Pei Yan let out an earth-shattering scream, and it felt like her scalp was about to be ripped off. "You little bitch! What are you doing?" The waiters around me were also worried. "Miss, what are you doing? Let me go quickly." "Don't come up here." Xia Yingluo picked up a cup of steaming tea from the next table. "Who dares to act rashly? Believe it or not, I'll pour a cup of tea down." She lowered her head and smiled ferociously at Pei Yan. "You say I hurt you intentionally? Do you want to try what real intentional harm means? If you pour this cup of hot tea, will you be disfigured or disfigured?" Pei Yan was really scared now, trembling and said, "Don't mess around. I don't have time to play with you," Xia Yingluo said, holding a teacup in one hand and holding her hair tightly with the other. "You apologize to us and shout, 2 ants, I was wrong 3 times, and then let me. If they cancel the call, I will spare you." Pei Yan is afraid that she will really burn herself and disfigure herself. Who knows whether plastic surgery can save her? A person who knows the current affairs is a hero, so she quickly shouted, 2 ants, I was wrong. 2 ants, I was wrong. 2 ants, I was wrong, but she hated Xia Yingluo in her heart and wanted to break her into pieces. Thousands of corpses. Xia Yingluo smiled with satisfaction, my good grandson, what else is there? No matter how unwilling he was, Pei Yan had to order the waiter, don't call the police. Cancel it quickly. The waiter had no choice but to call the police. They were open for business, and there was no benefit in provoking the police. He immediately called 110 and asked to cancel the call. However, before the call was finished, a police officer rushed in from outside, where is there anyone, make trouble. Xia Yingluo was stunned. Jin Linger was also stunned and murmured, Uncle policeman, so efficient. The waiter said with a sad face, the police station is just across the road. As soon as these words came out, Xia Yingluo also wanted to cry. Only Pei Yan, seeing the police was like meeting a relative, shouting loudly, help! Help me quickly! This is going to hurt me. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1188. Chapter 1188 She bullied me. Xia Yingluo frowned, looked down at this dishonest woman, and suddenly smiled, her beautiful face shining like stars under the crystal light in the room. Pei Yan's heart skipped a beat when she saw Xia Yingluo's hand loosened and a cup full of hot tea poured on her face. It's over, it's going to be disfigured. Pei Yan was so frightened that he let out a pig-like scream that resounded through the sky. However, the expected scalding pain did not hit her. She was just splashed with warm tea on her face, and the liquid poured into her mouth and nose, causing her to cough loudly. I'm sorry, my hands are slippery. Xia Yingluo laughed so hard that she didn't look the least bit embarrassed. Pei Yan looked at the joking look on her face and realized that what she was holding was never scalding hot tea, just a cup of lukewarm ordinary tea. She deliberately scared herself and wanted to apologize to them. The anger and humiliation of being deceived surged, and Pei Yan went crazy with anger, I'm going to kill you. Stretched out a hand with sharp nails and scratched Xia Yingluo desperately. Ah, Xia Yingluo suddenly exclaimed softly, my hand. She let go of her hand and hid behind the policeman holding her own hand, Uncle policeman, she hit me. Police. A room full of waiters, onlookers, and golden bells. Miss, you bullied Ms. Pei into this, and you still said with a horrified look that someone was beating you. Is that really okay? Xia Yingluo stretched out her hand, and there was a nail scratch on the back of her fair hand. She really hit me. It hurt me to death, I even bleed. Much his hands wiped his tears. A beautiful girl aged 16 or 17, even if she pretends to cry, she looks very charming. Pei Yan was furious when he saw it, pointed at her and shouted angrily, it was obviously you who bumped into me. She knew very well that Xia Yingluo's hand was not in that position originally, and it was deliberately bumped into it just to be scratched by her. Xia Yingluo cried even more vigorously, she still falsely accused me. The policemen were dizzy, and the leader gave the order, arrest them all. Took Xia Yingluo, Pei Yan, Jin Linger and several waiters back to the police station across the street. In the mediation room, the policeman held a pen and paper, tell me, what's going on? She hit me, Xia Yingluo complained first, police uncle, look at my hands, they are bleeding. Pei Yan was angry, you were the one who pulled my hair first. I didn't pull your hair, I just wanted to wipe the soup from your head. Not to mention the cup of soup that was splashed all over his head and face, it was okay. When he mentioned it, Pei Yan's whole body was about to explode. He jumped up with his hair still dripping, you little bitch. You poured it on purpose. My soup. I didn't mean it, Xia Yingluo said, Linger and I were joking around. My hand slipped. It was you who accidentally got splashed. Slippery hands again. Pei Yan was furious. He pointed at her and cursed her like a bitch, a slut, a poor person, and trash. Occasionally, he was interspersed with Xia Yingluo's retorts, you are the bitch, you are the one. Saucy, you trash, you shameless. With Jin Linger's support, the entire interrogation room was as lively as a vegetable market. The policeman in charge of recording the confession couldn't bear it anymore. He almost broke the pen in his hand and slapped the table, shut up. In an instant, everyone fell silent. Pei Yan looked dissatisfied, while Xia Yingluo looked like she had been greatly wronged. She looked at the policeman pitifully. That little look made people's hearts melt. The police uncle was well informed, so of course he knew that she was faking it, but this girl pretended to be pitiful and pretended to be so cute, which really made people unbearable to criticize her harshly. On the other hand, the woman next to her who was covered in soup, with her condescending expression and her scolding language like a shrew, was simply too unqualified and uneducated. The policeman did not look at them. He pointed at the waiter next to him and said, "Tell me." "Ah. Okay, the waiter stammered about what happened. These two girls accidentally flew a crab leg and rubbed it against Ms. Pei. Ms. Pei cursed, and both sides there was a conflict. We have obviously apologized. She even cursed," Jin Linger added. The waiter wiped his sweat. He was afraid of offending Pei Yan, his boss who looked very wealthy, so he had just deliberately omitted the part about Jin Linger's apology. Unexpectedly, Jin Linger pointed it out on the spot. "Have they apologized?" the policeman asked solemnly. "Tell the truth. You will be held responsible for perjury." The waiter was frightened and said quickly, "Apologize, apologize. This little girl with blonde hair only got scolded after she apologized." Jin Linger showed a satisfied expression. "Look, it's obviously the person named Pei who is making trouble unreasonably." Pei Yan saw that the wind was going in the wrong direction and quickly said, "But I didn't do anything." Xia Yingluo stood up and started throwing people at her. Xia Yingluo was not at a disadvantage. "I didn't insult anyone, I told you it was just slippery hands." She scolded my friend, and I stood up when I got angry. I accidentally overturned the table and forgot that I still had soup in my hand. At that time, I saw several people at the scene looking at each other with unbearable expressions. Just pretend, can you be more fake? The most angry person was Pei Yan. "You did it on purpose." "I'm not." "You are." "I'm not." "Okay," the policeman slammed the table again unbearably. "No one is allowed to speak from now on. I will ask a question, and the designated person will answer. Did you hear it?" The mediation room was quiet again. The police struggled to piece together the reality from their messy confessions, and they also wanted to scold their mothers. How big of a trivial thing is this, and is it a waste of police resources to call 110? Putting down the confession record, he decided to settle the matter. Okay, it's not a big deal. Let's let it go. From now on, please be patient and avoid conflicts with others." "Forget it." Xia Yingluo's eyes widened and she felt aggrieved. "She scratched me and it bled." "Policeman, little girl, don't push yourself too far." He understood the messy confession just now. It was indeed the little girl who made the move first. Now she is the biggest beneficiary of this decision. Isn't she satisfied? Xia Yingluo then shrank back with guilt and stopped talking. "Over there," Pei Yan stopped and said sharply, "she hit me, and that's it." "I didn't hit you, my hands were slippery," Xia Yingluo denied shamelessly. Pei Yan was so angry that his eyes were on fire. "Really? Then let me see if my hand slips." As he said that, he grabbed the ballpoint pen in the mediation room and was about to throw it at her. "Uncle policeman, she bullied me," Xia Yingluo nimbly dodged and hid behind the policeman. The ballpoint pen flew out and was caught by the policeman with quick eyes and hands. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1189. Chapter 1189 Choosing Dancers. The policeman warned Pei Yan with a cold face, "Are you done yet? If you make a fuss again, I'll count you as assaulting the police officer. You were the one who cursed first, so why are you arguing with a little girl? She's not yet underage. You're the one who's really going to do it. The adult's responsibility for bleeding is heavier than hers. Do you really want me to pay for it?" Pei Yan gritted her teeth with hatred. Even if Xia Yingluo's hand was bleeding from her scratch, it was Xia Yingluo's deliberate plan to evade responsibility. And it was just a small scratch on the back of her hand. How could it be more embarrassing than having soup poured all over her head and face in public, and having her hair pulled and forced to apologize? However, in this situation, she did not dare to say anything more. No matter how public she was, she did not dare to challenge the police. Xia Yingluo smiled and kept praising, "Uncle Policeman is the most powerful, Uncle Policeman is the most sensible." Pei Yan was so angry that he couldn't even utter a word. The policeman scolded her again with a straight face, "Okay, don't flatter me, study hard at a young age and don't cause trouble in society." Xia Yingluo was not afraid and responded obediently. She took Jin Linger's hand and skipped out of the police station. At the door of the police station, Pei Yan looked at them bitterly, "Xia Yingluo, just wait for me." Xia Yingluo smiled sweetly, looking as beautiful as a little goblin under the starry sky. "Waiting? What are you waiting for? Can you beat me to death or curse me to death?" "Haha, Pei Yan, believe it or not, I will teach you a lesson once I see you." "You once?" Pei Yan glanced at her coldly, turned around, and walked into the darkness with his head full of soup and water. Xia Yingluo looked at her back and smiled happily. Jin Linger was also very happy. "Today is really a pleasure. By the way, Yingluo, what grudge do you have against this woman?" Xia Yingluo then remembered that she hadn't introduced who Pei Yan was yet, and said with a smile, "Why, you don't even know her origins, yet you dare to help me deal with her. I'm afraid I'll scare you to death if I tell you." "Tch, Aunt, who am I? Are you afraid of her? Say it quickly." "She is the daughter of the Emperor Pei family, and her brother is one of the heirs that Chairman Pei Xian is optimistic about." Xia Yingluo held hands with her and walked to the training camp in the dark. "How are you scared? What are you afraid of? Even if I am the emperor, if I dare to bully you, I will take it upon myself." "She," Xia Yingluo said after a moment of silence, "she is the woman who robbed Zhao Yuxuan." Jin Linger was stunned. She didn't expect that things would turn out like this. Is she that shameless bitch? If I had known, I wouldn't have let her go so easily. I must show her how powerful I am. Yingluo, why didn't you tell me earlier? I didn't have time to tell you just now, Xia Yingluo said. After a moment, she added, "But don't worry, who am I? How could I just suffer such a big loss and just let it go? I have made arrangements and was just taken away by the police. When I left the restaurant, I quietly asked a waiter to take a photo with his mobile phone. We will get the photo tomorrow and post it at the emperor's door. The rich lady was taken away by the police. Let's see where she puts her face." With one conversation, Jin Linger's eyes lit up. "Yingluo, you are so cruel. I like it. That Zhao Yuxuan actually looks down on you, who is so smart, beautiful, and witty, but he likes that idiot Pei Yan. Isn't he really out of his mind?" "He is indeed out of his mind," Xia Yingluo snorted arrogantly. When one day she returns to the family and he discovers that she comes from the most wealthy family in the world, will he regret it to death for that man who always follows the trend of others? The two girls walked away talking and laughing. The next day, they asked the waiter to take the photo, and hired a group of street gangsters to print the photo into a large poster, and put it up all over the streets of S city at night. Especially the entrance to the emperor's company is densely and continuously covered with wallpaper. From a distance, it looks like a new layer of wallpaper. In the photo, Pei Yan was grabbed by the police and walked towards the car, with vegetable soup all over his face and makeup, looking extremely embarrassed. As for Xia Yingluo and Jin Linger, not even in the frame. The whole city woke up in the morning light, and countless people saw those photos and the headlines on them. The emperor's socialite Pei Yan was arrested for fighting with others, setting a new lower limit for the education of wealthy families. There were even many reporters who gathered at the emperor's entrance to take crazy photos of the endless fields and grab the news. Pei Yan has gained a reputation this time, but unfortunately, he has a bad reputation. Many wealthy families openly and secretly laughed at the daughter of the Pei family for being uneducated, especially some competitors, who ridiculed her on various occasions, making the entire emperor feel particularly embarrassed from top to bottom. Within the company, someone used this incident to attack Pei Yan's brother Pei Chenju, saying that he couldn't even discipline his sister well, so why should he take on such an important position? He forcefully bit off a piece of the power he held in his hand. Pei Chenju suffered this unreasonable disaster, so he gave his sister a hard slap in the face when he got home. If you fail to succeed, you will fail. Pei Yan was beaten until his mouth and nose were bleeding. He covered his face and said, "It's not my fault. It's because that little Xia Yingluo is too vicious." Being vicious is not wrong, stupidity is, Pei Chenju said coldly. You can't even compare to a little bitch. How can you have the dignity to be the daughter of the Pei family? After a pause, he added, that little what's going on? You can't make it easy for her by provoking me. Pei Yan knows his brother's abilities, so how can he be considered as a candidate for successor by Pei Xian? He became energetic on the spot and quickly told Pei Chenju everything he knew about Xia Yingluo. Pei Chenju sneered slightly, I'm just a little trainee, but I dare to be arrogant. Just wait, he will definitely teach her a lesson. Pei Chenju spent some effort to suppress Pei Yan's matter, and then came the news of her engagement. Pei Chenju is now having a difficult time within the emperor. There are several candidates for heir, and the competition is very cruel. He is eager to win over all parties, so marrying his sister to Zhao Yuxuan, an important official in the brokerage center, is a good choice, so that the other party can be his and charge into the battle. At the same time, they can take this opportunity to take revenge on the girl named Xia Yingluo. Emperor Training Camp. In class, the teacher suddenly called Xia Yingluo up and announced something. Miss Pei Yan and Mr. Zhao Yuxuan are getting engaged recently. They hope to have a few trainees from the training camp perform dances on the spot to celebrate. Yingluo, Zhang Bilian, you are the best students in the camp, just you, plus Zuzu, Zhang Qiang, and Zhou Wu. Xia Yingluo blinked, me? Is there any mistake? Her ex-boyfriend is getting engaged to his love rival and asked her to celebrate? It's you, that's right. The teacher's tone left no room for doubt. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 1190. Chapter 1190 is still unfinished. The other trainees had different expressions, some were sympathetic to Xia Yingluo, and some were gloating about his misfortune. Isn't this too embarrassing? Everyone knows that Zhao Yuxuan had an unclear relationship with Xia Yingluo before. Now that they are engaged, asking her to perform, isn't this a naked humiliation of her? I'm not going, Xia Yingluo said. Teacher, it's not your fault. If you don't obey the training camp arrangements, all your final grades will be invalid. Xia Yingluo sneered, fire me if you can. The teacher frowned, Xia Yingluo, don't make trouble unreasonably. Who is making trouble unreasonably? Xia Yingluo still wanted to fight, but suddenly, severe pain came from her body, causing her to bend over. Yingluo. What's wrong with you? Jin Linger quickly supported her and asked with concern. She was in so much pain that she could not speak, and the cold sweat fell from her face little by little. But the teacher said, there's no point in pretending to be sick. That's it. You two should prepare yourself so that you don't embarrass the training camp. The matter was settled like this. Xia Yingluo, who was hurt and angry, originally had no intention of going, but then she thought about it and suddenly laughed. Didn't they want to humiliate her? Very good, wait until we get to the engagement party and see who keeps who from getting off the stage. So she said nothing and followed Zhang Bilian and others to prepare for the dance. They were preparing for a group dance. Except for her, Zuzu, Zhang Qiang and others were all friends of Zhang Bilian, so they naturally elected Zhang Bilian as the lead dancer, but she could only be pushed to the corner of the group dance. All are inconspicuous. Xia Yingluo did not argue with them and rehearsed calmly. Zhang Bilian and others thought she was afraid, so they were very proud and did not embarrass her further. Because they all know that dancing at the engagement party of the daughter of the Pei family is an opportunity to show their face. There will definitely be many big shots present, and maybe someone will take a fancy to them, which will be of immeasurable help to their future prospects. They all cherished this opportunity and did not want to mess it up due to fighting with Xia Yingluo. Instead, they warned her sternly, dance well when the time comes. Don't embarrass us. Xia Yingluo smiled, don't worry, she will dance well. Physical condition goes up and down. Sometimes I feel fine and suddenly feel pain, and I almost fall down in the practice room. After several dance practice interruptions due to her health, Zhang Bilian and others were very unhappy and went to the school, replace Xia Yingluo. How will she get on stage like this? How embarrassing would it be if she messed up? The school administrator sneered, if she doesn't go, you don't have to go. What a joke, they thought they were selected because they were outstanding. The only person Miss Pei wanted from the beginning to the end was Xia Yingluo. Everything else is just a cover. Screw it. It would be better if she screwed up. Wouldn't Miss Pei be able to justifiably humiliate Xia Yingluo? Zhang Bilian and others were upset, and they were even more unhappy with Xia Yingluo when they came back. Xia Yingluo is also worried about her health. She doesn't want to pass out from pain while dancing at the wedding banquet. Wouldn't that make a big fool of herself and fulfill the wishes of Pei Yan and the couple? She must find a way to stop this pain. At present, she can only turn to Wei Lingnan for help. That's when I remembered that I didn't have his contact information. Xia Yingluo was going crazy. She frowned and decided to try her luck in the back mountain. That's where she bumped into him last time. Maybe she could bump into him again this time. She picked a sunny day, put on light clothes, and brought a knife for self-defense, and went up the back mountain alone. In the back mountain, there are green trees like shade, the pale golden sunshine in the afternoon is overwhelming, and the birds are chirping and the flowers are fragrant. She took a deep breath and shouted to the mountains, Wei Lingnan, Wei Lingnan dash. It startled countless birds. I shouted for a long time, but I didn't see anyone nearby. Just when she was about to despair, she turned around and saw the tall figure of a man behind her. He was still wearing a finely crafted plain shirt, and his clean short black hair slightly covered his narrow eyes. He stood erect under a large bush of hydrangeas in full bloom, looking cool in the midsummer Sunday and elegant. She was a little frightened. Glaring at him, why do you stand behind others without saying a word? Do you know that you might give someone a heart attack? He looked at her, did it scare you? Humph, no, she said stubbornly. He smiled slightly, sorry. She glared at him in embarrassment, I told you I wasn't scared. The smile in his narrow eyes deepened, and he walked towards her step by step. Do you have anything to do with me? Hearing him ask this, she didn't know what to say. The man in front of her was tall and slender, and he was approaching step by step. There was a faint feeling of pressure, and it took a lot of effort for her to restrain the urge to retreat. He walked up to her, with a faint unknown bitter smell on his body. He didn't know where he got the smell from. Some of it was like the aroma of medicine, and some of it was like a chemical mixture. She looked up at him, her thoughts a little confused. You can't just say to him directly, "Hey, I've been experiencing rejection again recently. Can you kiss me?" Thousands of thoughts were going through her mind, but his face grew bigger and bigger before her eyes. She felt her lips were covered by something soft and cool, and it took her a while to realize that it was him who was leaning down and kissing her. A lingering kiss. As if protecting some rare treasure, so tender and cherished. Her mind went blank, and she didn't know whether she was shocked or confused. She clearly didn't say anything, but he fulfilled her wish so directly. So what does her psychological construction along the way and her feeling of despairing of death count? Staying stunned the whole time. She didn't even know when his lips left hers. Wei Lingnan looked down at the girl in his arms, a little amused. Why, are you enjoying yourself so much that you can't speak? Xia Yingluo came back to her senses and her cheeks turned crimson. You are the one who enjoys it. I'm enjoying it a lot, he said with a smile, looking at her meaningfully. I still haven't finished it. Her face turned redder, and she hurriedly pushed him away, as if pushing away something hot. After taking many steps back, she managed to regain her composure. Don't come over here. He actually stood there. Why, you spent so much effort to find me, didn't you just want me to kiss you? He could guess what she was calling him for, and it was just a rejection reaction. Such a reason can force her to take the initiative to find him. Xia Yingluo was furious when he saw through his mind. No. Oh. What do you want? Xia Yingluo finally collected her thoughts and said, yes, I came to you for rejection, but I didn't ask you to kiss me. End of this chapter.